93% of workers say AI stress affects their job performance. Almost none of them call it grief. But that is exactly what it is, and it is why so many careers are stalling right now. There are 6 stages of AI grief. Most professionals move through the first 5 without even noticing. Then they stop. I implement AI inside real companies, and I watch this happen constantly across departments and job titles. Today, I am walking through all 6 stages, showing you exactly where people get stuck and why stage 6 is where the real payoff actually lives. Stage 1 is denial. This is the employee who insists AI cannot do their job. They point to the one bad output they saw, the hallucinated citation, the clumsy email draft, and treat it as proof the whole thing is a fad. They are not wrong that AI fails sometimes badly. They are wrong that it fails everywhere. Denial feels safe because it requires no action, no retraining, no admission that the job is changing underneath them. Stage 2 is anger. This is where denial breaks down under evidence and frustration takes over instead. People get angry at leadership for pushing AI tools without any real training. They get angry at coworkers who adopted early and now look ahead of them for reasons that feel unfair. The anger is usually aimed at the wrong target. It is rarely about the tool itself, and almost always about feeling unprepared and unheard. Stage 3 is bargaining. This looks productive from the outside, which is what makes it so easy to get stuck in. People take one AI course, try one tool for a week, and decide that is enough to be considered safe. It is a negotiation with reality, not a real commitment to change. Just enough effort to feel covered on paper, not enough to actually change how the work gets done. Bargaining buys comfort. It does not buy capability. Stage 4 is depression. This is the quiet stage, and honestly, the most dangerous one. People realize the change is real and permanent, not a passing trend that will blow over. They stop fighting it, but they also stop trying to adapt. Engagement drops, initiative drops. This is where careers actually stall, not because people lack ability, but because they have mentally checked out of the adaptation process entirely. Translation. These first 4 stages are not a character flaw, and they are not a sign someone is bad at their job. They are a normal emotional response to a real threat to identity and income. The problem is not feeling denial, anger, bargaining, or depression. The problem is staying there. Most corporate AI training assumes people just need more information about the tools. What they actually need is permission and time to move through an emotional process first, before any training sticks. Stage 5 is acceptance. This is where most people finally land, and where most people also stop moving. Acceptance sounds healthy. It sounds like the finish line you have been working toward. But acceptance just means you agree AI is here to stay and is not going away. It does not mean you have changed a single thing about how you actually work day to day. Acceptance is a mindset shift. It is not a skill, and mindset alone does not show up in your output. Here is why acceptance alone is not enough. Harvard and Boston Consulting Group studied consultants using GPT-4 on real business tasks. Bottom-performing consultants improved by 43%. Top performers improved by just 17%. AI raises the floor far more than it raises the ceiling, and that gap changes who your competition actually is. Translation. If AI mostly helps weak performers catch up to strong ones, then standing still at acceptance means everyone else closes the gap on you specifically. Your years of experience stop being the automatic advantage they used to be. The people who push past acceptance into stage 6 are the ones who turn that leveling effect into their own advantage, instead of quietly becoming its casualty. So what is stage 6? I call it non-grief. This is the stage where AI stops being a threat you merely tolerate and becomes a capability you actively multiply. Non-grief is not blind optimism, and it is not cheerleading for the technology. It is a practical shift in the question you ask. You stop asking whether AI will take your job and start asking which parts of your job it can absorb so you can spend your time on what is actually left over. In practice, non-grief looks very specific, not abstract. It looks like knowing exactly which of your tasks AI handles well and which ones it quietly ruins if you trust it too far. It looks like using AI for the first draft of a report, but keeping the judgment call on what actually goes into the final version. This is what I mean when I talk about the jagged frontier, the uneven boundary between AI genius and AI failure. Non-grief means you have actually mapped where that edge sits for your specific job. But there is a real catch here, and I will not pretend it does not exist. If AI absorbs the junior-level grunt work, where does judgment come from 5 years from now? Junior employees used to build real expertise by doing the tedious tasks senior people no longer had time for themselves. If AI eats that work instead, someone still has to build the next generation of experts on purpose because it will not happen automatically anymore. Here is the timeline problem nobody wants to say out loud. Corporate programs love to promise a 90-day AI transformation. That is a marketing claim, not a realistic one. Moving from denial through anger, bargaining, and depression past acceptance into real non-grief capability takes 12 to 18 months for most working professionals. Anyone promising you a full transformation in a single quarter is selling a shortcut that simply does not exist in practice. So how do you actually get to stage 6? Start by mapping your own jagged frontier, the specific tasks where AI genuinely helps you versus where it quietly fails you. Then pick one real workflow, not 10, and rebuild it around AI, instead of just bolting AI onto your existing old process. Next, mentor someone junior on purpose, so the judgment gap does not quietly become permanent across your whole team. Finally, give yourself the full 12 months this actually takes. Do not judge your own progress at day 30 and quit. Translation. None of this requires you to become a technologist or a coder overnight. It requires you to treat this like the emotional transition it actually is, and to keep moving after acceptance instead of quietly stopping there like most people do. The real skill gap here is smaller than the emotional stall people get stuck in at stage 5. And that stall is the actual risk to your career, not your lack of technical ability. 93% of workers feel AI stress. Almost none call it grief, and almost none finish the process all the way through. Which stage are you actually standing in right now? Subscribe if you want the roadmap before the anxiety headlines get there first.